Can we really embrace the fall that frees the ink? How ready are we to turn the page of our own perception? Will we write a new, more conscious chapter of awareness? With the upcoming new moon in Scorpio, we are being called to descend, not into darkness, but depth, to trust our ability as storytellers and courageously speak of tales that have reached their natural, if sometimes less than happy, endings, softening into our own soul's record by choosing to receive the power to rewrite what was never truly lost, only hidden within the paragraphs of fear that kept us small. I've just dropped a plate, nearly smashing it on the floor. Not the metaphorical juggling type, but a real serving dish. And in doing so, I'm reminded of the story we promised to break on my mother's passing. The happy ending, created on an ornamental saucer of my grandmother's. Hung on her wall, kept purely for sentimental reasons, my mother had, despite arguing with everything it stood for, maintained this facade. So, as sworn, we destroyed the limited language it represented on the ground outside when she moved on, agreeing to do the same. By stepping away from the broken shards of what a mother should be, the expectations in poem form of a woman, the demands, hardships, struggles, somehow normal, noble even. But the truth is, watching my own plate fall earlier in front of me, unable to catch it in time, yet seeing it remain in one piece, I realised I haven't kept to my end of the deal. Having finished a deep conversation with some dear friends around loss, the courage it takes to continue loving, trusting, believing in the happy ever after outcome in a world that makes a live-in from the alternative, I can see where I, like so many, have succumbed, albeit well-meaning, to that damn rhyme of outdated realities. Thankfully, I'm no longer in a place where I berate myself, aware instead of a more appreciative perception of this at times uncomfortable knowing that suddenly rises out of nowhere. Because it's to be expected. Think about it. How often do we get to see what happens after everything comes together? Be that in movies, the news, or even situations stifled by our own friends and family for fear of being better than or envied. And when we do, more often than not, it generally involves the character we have chosen to focus on, known or unknown, dying or succumbing to some extensive trials and tribulations, simply to somehow deserve their now less than joyful conclusion. The reality is, this existential expenditure is a part of our deeply ingrained processes, written not only in the psyche of the individual, based on their own circumstances and beliefs, but the narrative of the expanded collective consciousness. From Luke Skywalker and Joan of Arc to Jesus himself and all the fairy tale princesses in between, there is often shadow-based beliefs of the inherited cost of happiness. And with ease and grace sacrificed, struggle and endurance become the norm of any self-worth measurement. Tell me, you haven't given reason behind at least one of the things that has worked out in your life. Be it relationships, work, the winning lottery numbers. Name something that hasn't had a spiritual price tag tied to it. That just happened because it was meant to. And yet we are somehow encouraged to accept in our own understanding this version of truth for anything that causes pain, suffering, or, let's face it, for the most of us, a trauma response to the conflict of potential karma behind all the things we wanted but now suddenly don't really need, just in case. What impact does this have on our ability to receive? Moreover, as a result, create something different. All questions I found myself pondering this morning, ironically on World Kindness Day, whilst feeling into the energies of the upcoming Scorpio new moon. As the lyrics to Way Down We Go, a song given to me a few weeks prior, began to make more sense. The repetitive depth of simple lines, encouraging me to look further than the obvious. at the emotional fear I'm currently experiencing around the love I have in my life and the potential of losing it. The doubt in wanting things without there being a lesson or healing to go through. The palpable, no matter how illogical, perspective of a negatively fated universal reaction and response. Alongside the accountability I now hold in this integration to aim for a different outcome. Not in the actions themselves or by ignoring the many reasons beneath them, but in walking side by side further down into my body for the answers needed, giving permission to feel everything, happiness included, surrendering to the inner wild or undomesticated light within it all, not justifying the journey walked to regain it, by purely allowing this unbroken peace to guide me forward. A personal power we are all being encouraged to reclaim with the upcoming new moon, occurring in the transformative depths of Scorpio, associated with emotional intensity as the intuitive explorer of our inner worlds. Only in the submission of any liminal spaces we find ourselves in can we hope to restore focus and embrace our own personal growth. There are no wicked stepmothers other than those on movie screens to blame anymore. The villain has always been the one who holds the vision. And with Mercury retrograde to Sagittarius from the 9th, moving into the second half of its cycle in the same sign around the new moon, we are actually facing a positive time to sense into our instincts and motivations around this, particularly those of a darker matter, if we wish to discover the deeper emotional, intimate nature of life from within, as we from here acknowledge how this may be unconsciously affecting our decision-making. Of course, this means things could get uncomfortable, especially for the more wounded inner child, the part that has wished to stay safe, refusing to question the stories we have been told and adopted as our own. But this isn't about positive and negative, good or bad, more the entunement of any sensitive bedtime-based beliefs that have kept us asleep to our own potential, alongside the choice to decide whether or even what we want to keep reading into them. If the hero of our story is one born from grit and determination and this still works, so be it. But how can this help release the restricted realities of the past that have now no longer been able to permit any freedom? Remember, even the baddie in every good tale experiences at least one point of happiness. Can we allow that for ourselves and each other? And move from limited stoicism or optimistic bypassing to a realistic ending in each moment, born from and in the beginning this brings. Recognizing this is but a chapter, not the whole story. Supporting the judged or victimized feelings in the subdued subconscious now rising to be perceived from a different angle. Thankfully, with the slowing down of plans and or projects due to Jupiter retrograding in Cancer on the 11/11 portal until March, we have enough time for this re-evaluation, a much-needed chance to not only pause before turning the page, but like a children's tale from the 80s, skip forward and see what outcomes our decisions could lead to. Provided we can allow any crisis of faith, especially at times connected to our own waning enthusiasm or, in honesty, confidence needed to question it, occur, there will be many opportunities to gain a greater understanding of areas in our life currently in excess. Be that relationships, unrealistic expectations, need for control, or underneath it all, lack of trust based on our own outdated beliefs. This new moon will guide us at times less gently towards alternative ways of being, living, and creating, as we move beyond the comfort of confined, conformed consciousness and in this heal through the process of necessary inner transformation. With its opposition to Uranus, we must observe any emotional prematurity for the ink upon the pages we continue to write, particularly when facing abrupt change and our own rebellious reactions, if we wish to make the most of what could actually be a courageous, initiative-taking time. by simply, yes, it is a phrase still available no matter how things seem, allowing the desire to change and improve our lives, no matter the instigator, be the powerful motivator it has the potential to reawaken within us. Now suggesting we too embrace the villain of our own stories with compassion for the reflection of ourselves we have chosen to see, or not, of course. All is free will, and it could be this very bookmark of begrudging balance that, supported by harmonious Pluto, Saturn, Neptune, and Jupiter, will bring about a new cycle. Regarding the characters we now wish to play, their intimacy, control, power, money, and underpinning language of receptivity within the grimoires of our own gratitude and grace. Connecting to the more directed, aligned abilities of this zodiac sign, such as focused, perceptive, innovative, passion-based resourcefulness, we can expect self-mastery to take precedence for the page turner it's always been, insisting we free ourselves from the restrictions, or rather, resistant addictions we may have against this. Be that drugs, relationship, alcohol, gambling, spirituality, and dare I say it, less meaningful, make-do happy ever afters. Now is a time to sink or swim. Drowning in our own self-pity or treading the emotional waters of transition, we will all find ourselves, one way or another, being part of a much larger change. Because we are not only the heroes of the collective Akashic library, but the author of our own story within it. By being honest and facing what's missing in our lives, we can recognize the need for self-destructive behaviors that have kept us from this truth, and decide what persona we now wish to play. Arguably a divine detox, offering a chance to remove the less engaging materials and or spiritual junk from our own records. In digging deeper, reaching higher to the tales we have avoided or been unable to feel until now, this new moon will reveal the mysteries available, including in the behavior of others, to help us experience the necessary into me I see plot beneath it all. With this comes a need for presence, physical movement and vibrational shifts towards quality over quantity, which, as Uranus sextiles Neptune on the 20th, the first of 5 events over the next few months, will bring a more long-term effect around ideas and how to express them. Whilst this may mean we seek guidance externally, there is a suggestion here to remember the power of intuition as the very structure in any good book, if we wish to follow the flow of our own freedom, pursue our dreams, and create something different. As Saturn stations and turns direct on the 27th in the sign of Pisces, having been retrograde since mid-July, there is a great encouragement towards change of direction, for the chance to take care of our responsibilities and bring any plans down to earth, at times through the potential magnification of limits and the impact they are having on any real long-term change. Allowing endings to fold and form beginnings as reflective births, renewal, this listening of insights once held in emotional judgments can, with surrender and trust, assist us to release any rigidity, bringing about a more flexible, supportive compassion to all we meet, the path before us and our future selves it will lead to included. Bridging the seen and unseen through the spiritual illumination of the 1111 portal and this month's overall numerical frequency, the next 4 weeks will invite vast transformations, potential gaslighting, particularly around the more external roguelike situations we face, and the overall chance to process any residual realities into understanding and from here embodied wisdom. It is one thing to tell tales, another to be a storyteller. And ultimately, this gift of the gab can only come from a deeper flow and alignment of our own place within it all, highlighting a fulfillment developed inside the clarity of our own narrative, not subjected by it, guiding us to write with our energy, rather than continue to put pen to paper against old, outdated timelines and or rhythms that are now dissolving. With both Mercury retrograding in Scorpio and Uranus in Taurus the day before or on, depending on placement of this Scorpio moon, any opposition is an ideal time to potentially liberate through internal revelations that no longer remain worth the ink of our own awareness. Although this may result in feelings of being scattered to the logical grasping mind, through the listening of our intuition, there is potential to make believe and in doing so disrupt old patterns, purely by going down into our own dreams and retrieving what is beneath or rather within them all, the lacking confidence in ourselves to achieve them. Structuring a Mercury cazimi with both the planet of communication, Sun and Moon all in Scorpio, any insight is said to be illuminated from the inside out. Our final one of the year, supported in retrograde, truths now being revealed will aid awareness of the hidden yet no less impactful underworld scenarios that form them, our own included. Overall, conjunct Mercury, opposite Uranus, held or rather at times stifled in a water trine with Neptune and Saturn retrograding in Pisces, alongside Jupiter in Cancer, the new moon is set to be intimate in its expansion, especially physically, which could ultimately cause intuitive destabilization on a cellular level. Never has there been more need to ground, to go way down into the body, reconnect to the very core of Pachamama, the great mother within and beneath us all, and realize it is here, in this transitional liminal space, so often avoided, misinterpreted for low, dark, feminine, bad energy. Our emotions will inevitably heal and soften any shattered disconnections. In the unfillable void of creation, where, reshaping through acceptance, the once necessary hardened edges chiseled on some level within each of us from an unpredictable outer world, we can all bring home a safer, more receptive container of consciousness. Just in time for Sagittarius season on the 21st, and Saturn moving direct in Pisces 6 days later. November encourages each of us to take one final deep dive into the stories we are choosing to take forward, by recognizing them within our psyches, discovering the moments that have taken our breath away for their experiences in a life worth living, as we head with a renewed spirit towards the dreams that have ironically kept us alive, with more appreciation, respect, and curiosity of a now internal reconfiguration towards them. By the end of which, with Mercury finally moving direct in Scorpio on the 29th, any insights gained, beyond answers alone, will raise the deeper emotional essence and orientation of what a new legend would read like, shifting what we think, speak, choose, and with the help of Venus opposing the Uranus retrograde, devote to, in our own unique description of it. Linked to the first decan of Scorpio, associated with the Five of Cups in the Tarot, referred to as the Lord of Loss in pleasure, this new moon isn't about forgetting the path we have walked to get where we are, but recognizing it doesn't stop where we find ourselves. That the story of our soul continues way beyond not only this particular lunation, day, year, times to come, but life itself. Meaning and reality, so too then does the potential of happily ever after, helping us embrace a more infinitively innate way of being. Now is a time to let the challenges that have tested our resolve and intuition break down any systems we may find ourselves entrenched in. Accepting that the journey through pain and suffering, solace and difficult choices must also come to an end in order to bring forth any beginnings. And trusting emotional turmoil towards this for the necessary assertiveness of our less than secret desire for creative power. Only here can we remember it was always ours in the first place. Way down, deep in the forgotten, repressed accounts of our own authenticity. Happening in the UK on the 20th of November at 6:47 a.m., vibrationally represented by the full High Priestess, Emperor, Hierophant, Lovers, Chariot, Strength, Hermit, Justice, Hanged Man, Star, and Empress overall. It is in the completion, beginning, endings, integration of their wisdom and the reflective lessons, we rebalance our own inner light for the direction and clarity we have been seeking all along, regardless of the depths we have had to go to in our search. May we all choose to move forwards towards a renewed, courageous vision that has not only taught the many perspectives needed to perceive it through our own self-mastery, but now invites us, as the mother of its creation, to deliver the soul potential of a world ready to embrace it, our own. In deepest munay, I ask you now, are you ready to put pen to paper? You know where I am. Take care. Kirsty.